Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, let's rank the Brian Johnson era AC/DC albums. I did a ranking of the Bon Scott era albums. I'll leave that linked below. I've done various discussions on some of these Brian Johnson era albums. I'll try to link some of those below. I thought it would be fun to rank all 11 Brian Johnson era AC/DC albums. AC/DC is the band, I say this all the time on my channel, that got me into hard rock and heavy metal. Back in Black album, the video for you shook me all night long. So Brian Johnson was the first vocalist that I heard from AC/DC. The catalog with Brian, though, is a bit up and down for me, so this was kind of easy to do, sometimes a little bit hard. I think there will be some surprises in my list. So 11 albums, let's get into it. My least favorite from the Brian Johnson era is Stiff Upper Lip. This is the only one that I didn't buy basically when it came out. I just don't think that there's a lot of great songs on here. The title track is pretty decent. I like Meltdown. Safe in New York City is decent. I really like Can't Stop Rock and Roll. I think that was in it. I think I did a deep cut of the Brian Johnson era, and I'm pretty sure that was in my list. But the rest of this is just very forgettable. Don't really like Satellite Blues. Damned, Come and Get It, All Screwed Up, Give It Up. This is sort of a problem that plagues a bunch of the AC/DC albums from this era is that the last like 3-4 songs on the record are always just kind of forgettable. It's not very consistent all the way through. So Stiff Upper Lip comes in at number 11 for me. Number 10 is going to be Ball Breaker. I remember getting this when it came out, and I did like it, and I do like this record. I know for some people this might be at the bottom of their list. Don't really like Cover You in Oil. Kind of like Hard as a Rock. I like The Fure. Don't like Boogeyman. I think the Honey Roll and Burning Alive, I really like those. I like Hail Caesar. Love Bomb is okay. But then here again, we get this, like the last 3 songs on the record, Caught With Your Pants Down, Whiskey on the Rocks. I do like the title track, though. I do really like Ball Breaker. So that breaks this trend of the last 3 or 4 songs on the album not being very good. I really like the title tracks. But again, it's just too inconsistent for me and too many forgettable songs. So Ball Breaker is at number 10. Number 11 for me is going to be Rock or Bust. You know, AC/DC, when they came back with Black Ice, these last 3 AC/DC albums, it feels like kind of a renaissance, a resurgence for them. But Rock or Bust is my least favorite out of the last 3. Don't really like Play Ball. I like Rock the Blues Away and Misadventure and Dogs of War. Got Some Rock Roll Thunder is pretty decent. Like Baptism by Fire. Mission Control is pretty cool. But it just lands here because it just doesn't beat out some of the other ones. All right, this is probably going to be the first surprise here in my list. This is 11, 10, 9. This is at number 8 for me is Razor's Edge. This was a huge album for them thanks to Thunderstruck. I mean, maybe one of their most recognizable songs in some way. I mean, you can't go to a sporting event and not hear Thunderstruck played at some point over the PA system. But for me, this record just never really resonated with me. And Thunderstruck, although I like it, I don't like it for as popular as it is. I think it's a good song, but for some people it would be like one of their favorite AC/DC songs. Not for me. But I do really like Fire Your Guns, Money Talks. I like the title track a lot. I absolutely hate Mistress for Christmas. That may be my least favorite song from the Brian Johnson era. Rock Your Heart Out is good. Are You Ready is good. But then it just really drops off for me. Got You by the Balls is kind of good. But then Shot of Love, Let's Make It, Goodbye and Good Riddance to Bad Luck, If You Dare. I don't really like those. So this album, which would probably be a lot higher on other people's lists, lands at number, what is this, 8, 11, 10, 9, 8. It's hard for me to remember as I'm going through these what number I'm on. Okay, 7. 7 for me is Black Ice. Maybe this is surprising that this lands up this high, but I remember being really excited for this when it came out, getting it like at midnight at Walmart. There was that Walmart exclusive, if you remember. And it felt like a return of AC/DC for me after Stiff Upper Lip and Ball Breaker. I remember thinking that Brian Johnson sounded great on this. Really like Rock and Roll Train, like Skies on Fire and Big Jack and Anything Goes and War Machine. Smash and Grab and Spoiling for a Fight are fun. I really like Wheels and Decibel. I love Rock and Roll Dream. Money Made, I like the feel on that one. Rockin' All the Way, Black Ice. So I like a lot on this. There's probably too many songs on this. If they had trimmed this down, it's 55 minutes long. If they had trimmed it down to 45 minutes, dropped, let's say, 3 songs or so, I think it would have been even tighter and maybe would have bumped up a little bit higher on my list. Key 6. This one I toggled back and forth. Wasn't sure where to put this one. Landed up moving up on my list as I thought more about it. Blow Up Your Video. And it's plagued with that problem of the second side of the record isn't as strong as the first. But when I sat down, I actually did a video on this recently, and it's a little bit of a dark horse album for me in their catalog, because when I think about it, there's a lot of songs that I like on here. I love Heat Seeker. That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll. Mean Streak. Go Zone, kind of forgettable. I love Kissin' Dynamite. Nick of Time, I love the chorus in that one. Some Sin for Nothing. Don't really care for Rough Stuff, but Two's Up. I like kind of the dark feel of Two's Up, and This Means War is kind of cool. It's very upbeat and energetic. So surprisingly, I was thinking this was going to last lower on my list. This lands up higher than expected at 6. Okay, maybe this is a surprise here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at number 5 here. That their most recent album would land at number 5, would break the top 5. But I really like this record. I like the sound of it. I like the mix. Realize, Shot in the Dark, I think is a great lead-off single from the record. Love, 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 Through the Mists of Time. Kick You When You're Down. Love Witch's Spell. Love Demon's Fire. Systems Down. Code Red. I just really like this record. I like the vibe of it. I think it's a very consistent record throughout. There's some standouts like the ones I mentioned, but there isn't really anything that I don't like on this album. So their most recent record, surprising, Power Up. Great to see that their most recent record would land so high on my list. Maybe this is a surprise. Coming in at number 4, I think a lot of people would have had this way lower on their list. In fact, this could have been at the bottom of their list. Sometimes when people are ranking the whole AC/DC catalog, this is like right at the bottom. And maybe this is a nostalgia thing, because I was like 16 or so when this came out, and this kind of felt like the last album I can relate to the earlier records. And the production on this record is not very good. And this is the first album where Brian Johnson, something happened, changes in his voice. But I like the record. I think, especially side 2 of this record, there's a lot of deep cuts on this record. Playing with Girls, Stand Up, Hell or High Water, Back in Business, Send for the Man. I like them. And this first side too, I know a lot of people don't like the song Danger, but I love Danger. Sink the Pink is fun. First Blood, Shake Your Foundations, the title track. I'd like all the songs on this record. Maybe it loses a point or two for the production and where Brian Johnson's voice is at. But this is a record I just find myself returning to very often. I mentioned in my Led Zeppelin ranking, and I didn't mention this at the beginning, that I'm not really factoring in the burnout factor. I'm kind of looking at how I felt with these records over the arc of time. But I am maybe, Patriot Pizza Man, he mentioned this in the Led Zeppelin ranking, that he is maybe grading some things on a curve. And maybe this benefits from that, because it's an album that I feel like I come back to a lot, that I'm not really burnt out on. All right, number 3. For those about to rock, we salute you. AC/DC was the biggest band in the world at this point. The title track is one of the greatest hard rock anthems of all time. I love Put the Finger on You. I wish they would bring that back into their set list. Love Let's Get It Up, Inject the Venom, Snowballed, Evil Walks, COD, Breaking the Rules, Night of the Long Knife, Spellbound. Love that. Great album closer. Maybe my favorite album closer from the Brian Johnson era. So love this record, love the production on it. I think it suffers a bit from being in the shadow of Back in Black and Dirty Deeds coming out. There was just a lot of AC/DC stuff coming out, which, by the way, I didn't do I didn't do. Gosh, I just forgot I just forgot the name of it. The compilation album that they put out around this time. I didn't rank that one because I just didn't feel like there was enough original material on it. But I love this record. I can remember when I first got it, got the cassette in the mail from a record club, and it was in the winter and everything. And I just have fond memories of this. I love the production. Again, this also feels like sort of a deep cut album because besides For Those About to Rock, they don't really play anything from this record. All right, number 2. I did a in defense of this album, and I've ranted and raved about how much I love this record. Flick of the Switch. This is the power age of the Brian Johnson era for me. I love the energy on it. Yeah, it's kind of raw. It's not as well produced as For Those About to Rock and Back in Black, but I just love it, man. The energy on this. I love all the songs on this. Standouts for me would be like the title track, Flick of the Switch, Rising Power, This House is on Fire, Nervous Shakedown, Love, 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 Guns for Hire, Deep in the Hole, Bedlam in Belgium. I love that. Love Badlands. So I just love this record. I'll link my in defense of this down below. It was like the second video I made on my channel. It's gotten a lot of views, and it's become sort of this cult favorite from the Brian Johnson era. All right, number 1. Now you could say, okay, this is the same thing that happened in my Zeppelin video, where I won't give away what my number 1 was on the Zeppelin video, but I commented on, there is a burnout factor involved, but I just can't deny how important this album is to me and to my metal history. I mean, this is the album that got me into hard rock and heavy metal, and in my opinion, it's the greatest hard rock album of all time. So even though there's a burnout factor involved, the influence of this record on me, the importance of this record, the importance on this record, in my opinion, to hard rock and heavy metal in general, it just has to line. It has to be here. I had to put it at number 1. I mean, Hell's Bells, What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Giving the Dog a Bone, Let Me Put My Love Into You, You Shook Me All Night Long is the song that turned me on to AC/DC. Have a Drink on Me, the title track, Shake a Leg. I mean, it's all good. it's all good. It all rocks. It's a well-produced album, but it still captures that raw, exciting energy of AC/DC, and it's just such an important album to me that I would feel wrong if I didn't put it at number 1. So, okay, there you go. Ranking the Bon Scott era AC/DC albums. Let me know what you think of my picks. How would you rank them? What would be in your top? I'm curious because, again, it seems like AC/DC's had sort of this renaissance of sorts on the last 3 albums. I'm curious where those are going to land on your rank. I'm curious where Razor's Edge lands for you guys, being that it landed pretty low for me. So let me know your picks. Let me know what you think of mine down below, too. We see you again. Make sure you rock hard, ride free.